In this video we are taking a look at the Great Snake variation, which is an amazing opening that you can use as black to destroy people who play the English opening. But I have to say before we get started, this is a really crazy opening, a really tactical opening. If you are someone who only loves boring openings, solid openings, and this is not for you, this is highly tactical and pretty crazy positions will arise. So let's get into the video. So white starts with c4, we are playing the Great Snake, which starts with pawn to g6. White plays knight to c3, and I am gonna follow the moves for the English opening, mainly for white, because here we are gonna play bishop g7, and if white really wants, of course they can always play an early d4, play e4, and this will most likely transpose into the King's Indian defense. After we play a move like d6 and knight f6, I also have a really good video on an aggressive line in the King's Indian defense that you should definitely check out if you want to play this opening. But I am going to continue here as white playing the English opening, because that is why we are really playing the Great Snake variation, to destroy the English opening. Okay, so the English g3, and here in the Great Snake we are going to play the move e5, because we want to prevent our opponent from pushing this pawn to d4 too early. Because if they push to d4, we will most likely transpose into some different kind of opening, and we would love to stay into our Great Snake variation opening. You can also always, way back here, start with pawn to e5, and then play for this, because with pawn to e5, you're kind of saying to your opponent, do you really want to play d4? But the thing is, if white wants to, they can always play d4. If you capture them, they can take with the queen, and then this is a little bit annoying as well to deal with. So that is why I play it in the true snake variation fashion, and we only play e5 here a little bit later on to stop their push to d4. As black, you often want to go for the move d6 because we want to open up this bishop. Then it is white to move. I'm gonna play d3, but in this snake variation, even if white plays different moves, if white goes for a knight f3, d3, e3, it doesn't really matter, b3, all things will result into similar positions. That's also why there is no real theory, quote-unquote theory, in this opening. It's more about remembering the ID than it is about playing the theory. So I'm going to continue with d3, and we're going to play knight to e7. And I don't like knight to f6 and the Great Snake, because we do want to push this pawn to f5. That's part of our snake formation, which I'm going to show you in a moment. So knight to f3, and we're going to castle first. White's going to castle, and then we're going to play pawn to f5. And we're already starting to get this snake-like pawn structure. The only thing really that's missing for us is to push this pawn to c6, and then we have the complete Great Snake variation pawn structure. So white to move, and the first line I'm going to take a look at here is what if white plays bishop g5, because this is the most played variation online. So this is what you will see the most. It's not necessarily the best, but it is what you will see the most. So if they go for this bishop g5, you can just attack them with h6. They will probably capture, because if they don't capture and they go back, well, g5, and they are losing the bishop. So they're probably going to capture, we can capture with the queen, and then they think, aha, I won a tempo, I can attack the queen. But it doesn't really matter. We are always going to go for a crazy kingside attack in the Great Snake, with all of these pawn pushes, just all-out kingside attack. We are going to destroy our own kingside position and just go for a crazy attack. So it's fine to have the queen here on f7. It actually helps us even a little bit to have the queen here on f7. I'm going to continue with Rook B1. Again, anything is possible from white, but I think the main white idea is to go for a queenside attack. That's really the only thing they have here. We're going to play c6. That's always a plan, and you can really see the beauty of this Great Snake variation, this snake formation with the pawns. The knight has to go back, and then we can develop the bishop here to e6. Let's say pawn to e3 and knight to d7. And this is really the main setup from the Great Snake. Of course, your queen can still be there if you didn't do the exchange, but other than the queen, this is like the main setup you want to aim for against most of what white can play. And black is already quite good here. I'm going to play some moves, so queen c2, and then I'm going to show you an example of a kingside attack here. And we're immediately after we have set up our pieces going to go for the queenside attack. White's going to go for the queenside, we're going to go for the kingside. And here, in this particular line, you always have these pushes in the center as well. And that's the great thing about the Great Snake variation. You can push here on the kingside, but you also have two potential pushes here on the center. And in this particular position, you can actually push on the center because you are threatening to take this knight, and we're also opening up this bishop and also this bishop. So basically black is attacking on both sides of the board at the same time, and white is already losing here, even though it's only move 15. Let's say they capture, and we can capture here, and now this is undefended. Of course, they can also move the knight, but then we can capture here, weakening their structure, and then we can go for knight to e5, and this will also win material, for example, in this variation. And here black is just completely dominating the white structure, for example, in a position like this, and then we can push pawn to d5, and black is just completely winning here. And if white does capture us here, you can just capture, attack the rook, and then take this knight, capture here as well, create some extra tactics, and things are going to get really crazy. I'm not going to go way further than this, but just to show you, this is the great snake. This is just madness all over the board. You're going to go for a kingside attack here. Sometimes you're going to just blow up the center and go all in here. And in this position, let's just say, for example, after bishop here, knight f6. I mean, this is already quite crazy. The light squared bishop is just going to be completely lost. This king is already getting so cramped, and in many variations you can even go in with the queen, try to do some checkmate there on g2. This is just incredible stuff. The best thing here for white is even to sacrifice this and then go for this variation with the queen, which is all still fine. We can still keep pushing here, we can develop. This is just a crazy opening. Then I'm going to show you another line here. Again, English opening from white. We are doing the same moves. This is what we have seen before. What if white goes for an early e4? I think that's also a very common approach. White is going to go for an early e4, trying to ask us the question, why did we push this pawn to f5? And see if they can do something here. Well, we can just play f4. We always wanted to do this kingside attack anyway, so we can just do it here. Of course, white doesn't have to capture. If they don't capture, they're also in trouble, because basically we're going to play h6, so we can play g5, and then we're going to play g4, kicking away the knight. Then we're going to play h5, and we're just going to march up the board and completely destroy them on the king side. Because here the center is locked, so here we don't have the option to do this crazy opening of the center with a bunch of tactics. We will have to go for a kingside attack. So let's say white captures, we can capture them back with our pawn. Of course with the pawn, not with the rook. Otherwise we would also just be giving up material here. So capturing with the pawn, d4 from white, and then again we're just going to go for the same approach. Try to push everything on the king. A queen here, white is trying to play for some tricks. We're just going to push. White can give us a check, it doesn't matter. And in the great snake you will see we basically blow up our own kingside position. We completely destroy it, but it never really matters, because even if white ever goes for these checks, you can always just hide here in the corner with king h8. Even in this position, if you really want to, you can even play the king here before they push. That's always possible if you want to avoid possible tactics. But here there was no reason, you can just play it in this move order as well. Let's say white captures here in the center, we can take back, and white really has to fight against this push that we have. We can just keep pushing everything. So basically h3 is their attempt to stop us from pushing, which is fine. This can slow down our attack just a little bit, but we're going to keep going, develop the knight, and then we are going to push to g4. And again, just crazy lines. And none of this is particularly the best play from both sides, but I just wanted to show you some of these crazy lines that you have in the great snake. You can push here, you can take. Again, what is white going to do? Everything is going to open up on the king side. White are going to have to try and defend at some point. We can bring in the knight, and this is already complete madness. I mean, the bishop will probably at some point take here, then we can go in with the knight to put some more pressure. We can always develop this queen. Sometimes we put the rook here. I mean, this is crazy tactics, crazy attacking chances. Especially these e4 lines are just madness. Let's say rook here, and then you can take, and here it's already over. Basically, it's already good game. White doesn't have anything. If white captures this with the queen, bam, we got this fork. For example, queen here takes, and then boom, we got this fork as well. Yeah, so white's not really in a good shape. If white captures here, we just have a check, and now we go in with the knight, and basically the same pattern, boom, forking here. So crazy tactics. we're just going to always open up and completely blow up the kingside here. And this is one of the ways you can do it against e4. For black, we mostly played the best moves. White always has some different options. But as I said, there's no real theory in this opening. It's just all-out attacking on the enemy king. Then this is, I think, probably one of the better approaches by white. We're going to go back to our main line. So I'm going to go a little bit quick here. Okay, this is our main line that we have. And then here I'm going to play Rook B1 for white. And I think if you're facing this with white, maybe Rook B1 is an interesting choice. This doesn't mean that Rook B1 is winning for white, but we will see. There are some crazy lines here. So we're going to continue with h6, bishop to e6. This is like the main ID. And white is going to go for a full queenside attack. But the big advantage with the early Rook B1 for white is they are not losing any time. And white really doesn't have any time to waste in this opening. If white wastes even a single move, black's attack will just be too quick. And white's going to be in a lot of trouble. And here white is really aggressive, immediately going all in on the queen side. And that is what white has to do if he wants to have a fighting chance. For example, knight e7 and then c6. And this is again the great snake. We just played this great snake formation with pawn to h6, sometimes with king h7 as well. If necessary, if your pawn is attacked twice, you can always defend it with the king as well. And white's just going to go all out on the queen side, and we are going to go all out on the king side. And many crazy lines here. Everything is possible, but I'm just going to show you some lines. For example, here we are pushing. White is building up on the queen side. At some point, white is going to release the pressure by pushing to b5. And the funny thing is, you can actually slow the white attack down. You just wait until they push, and then you push pawn to c5. And now you're asking them, what are you doing here? Like, what are these pawns doing? And that's also why I played Rook b8 a little bit earlier, because I wanted to defend. Right here, I already saw that, okay, if I play something else, well, b5, and then if you play this, all of a sudden, this is not really comfortable for black. So you can always, if you want to, defend here with the rook, and then push c5. And now we're just asking the question to white, what are you doing here on the queen side? I mean, nothing's really working, the pieces are a little bit stuck, and this is the best way of slowing down the enemy attack by creating this Botvinnik-like system. Again, white can continue, we can capture, and all of this is fine. There's not really any way for white to come into our position. We can keep attacking, and white will now have to switch to a central attack and start pushing in the center. That's the only real option they have. We can keep pushing, and even here, crazy moves. h4 is actually the top engine move in this position. This just gives away the pawn, but it doesn't even matter because we're gonna activate our knight, activate our queen. This is total madness. If white pushes this, we're just gonna go in, sacrifice on the bishop. I mean, that's why I think this is a great opening if you want to have some spicy lines against the English. And this is not something really common, so most people with the English don't know what to do against this. So white's not going to capture this, and in many lines you can even push h3. Just look at this structure, man. We're just taking up all of these squares on the king side. White is getting crushed in space, but white is also trying to fight back. And at some point here, you basically don't have any attack anymore because we pushed everything to the max. There's nothing we can keep pushing here. And then it's just time to go for a strategic play. So here white was able to survive. I mean, white didn't... I played probably most of the best moves for white, most of the top engine lines. And here white was able to survive. And we get a position like this. And now it's going to be more of a maneuvering game. Trying to see like where are all the weaknesses in this position. Where can potential pieces be placed. And we're just going to fight over that. And this is just one of those lines that I wanted to show you. For example, the white places a piece in the center. We try and attack it. They can always, if they want to, play it over here as well. They can go for some tricks, maybe we can trade, and even this was something I wanted to show you as well. This is just total madness. Here you can allow white to fork your pieces because you still have bishop f7 and they can actually not capture here, and white is in some kind of zugzwang even. I mean, if they try to move the queen, we can always take this. And if they don't move the queen, they will never be able to take the knight. So you can just leave this here. You can leave your knight on c6 for like 10 more moves if you want. There's no problem with that. This is just insane. If they try to play here, they are losing the knight. So there's no way to defend this pawn anymore from the white side. So just a pretty crazy line. But I think from the white side, this is the best line. If you want to have some chances, this is the best line. Here, black is slightly better, even though the position is completely insane. But here black is slightly better, about 0.8 according to the engines. Okay, according to humans, I think this is about equal. And it's going to be more of a strategic battle. And the first player who plays a couple of slow or bad moves is going to lose here. And then the last thing I wanted to take a look at is, I talked in the beginning about the fact that a d4 push is possible from white. And if they do a really early d4, you will have to play something else, maybe King's Indian defense or something. But they can always play e3. And they can play e3 if they want to push d4. So if you see e3, of course, they are playing this to push d4. And basically you have two choices here. I would recommend going for c5. And c5, basically we are playing some kind of Botvinnik system, but with the black side. You can also choose to play c6, just allow this, capture, capture, and then push d5 yourself. Capture, capture is probably what you're gonna get. And you will realize that this is probably one of the most boring and symmetric positions ever. I mean, just this, this, and this. So if you want to have something solid, something safe, this is always an option against the e3 line. But I don't play this opening to be solid. I play this opening for the crazy attacking lines. So I'm going to go for c5, trying to make white's life quite difficult. They can go knight to e2 to try and push this pawn. Of course, they can also go here with the knight, but then sometimes you will be able to pin it as well. So knight e2, knight c6. Of course, we're trying to fight over this d4 square, castles, castles, push to d3, push to d6. This is the Botvinnik setup. If you don't know the Botvinnik system, I also have a video on this. Basically, this is just the Botvinnik with the black side. And then the Botvinnik system, the only real attack here for white is again some queenside attack, but you can just stop them with a5. And now they don't have a queenside attack. They will have to play something like rook here if they want to try and push this. And you can also put your rook here and just mimic them. If they ever jump into the center, you can just let it be. You don't need to capture here. And then you can yourself even do a queenside attack here with this pawn to b5. Capture, capture, and you would get a position like this. Basically, we were able to stop the plan from white to push here. If they try something like queen a4, we can develop the bishop here. That's fine. Let's just say, for example, they take, while you can take with the knight. And you would get a position like this. And then later on, after everything is safe, you can even play f5 and go for more attacking lines. But against the e3 line where we play the Botvinnik, it's actually the queen side where we have the most play. Because you can see here, I'm going to have to make a move for white. For example, this, we can go back. You can already see here we are able to, in many lines, activate a lot of pieces here on the queen side. Also this bishop on a6, looking at this d3 pawn, which is a weakness. So this has to be defended. Sometimes also queen c7 here, so we can connect the rooks. So many different lines here. But again, this is a really asymmetric dynamic position, and it's going to be black who has the better chances here. You can also, if you want to, let's go back a couple of moves here. You can also, in many lines, go for f5 and try to go for a kingside attack. But in general, the kingside attack is a little bit weaker in this variation, especially if white plays all of the best moves. Of course, many players won't play all of the best moves, and you will still be able, if you want to go for something like this. Let's say knight d5 here, some position like this, rook b8. Usually you're not going to go for some crazy kingside attack, so there's no real reason to play f5. It's probably better to play a5 instead of f5 and then go for some kind of queenside attack. So that's it for the Great Snake. If you enjoyed this, definitely subscribe. And as always, I will see you in another video. Bye!